In 1994, TSR released an advanced Dungeons & Dragons book called Encyclopedia Magica Volume 1. Why were readers confused by the frequent use of the words "I-wizard" and "dawizard"? I'll say that again. In 1994, TSR released an advanced Dungeons & Dragons book called Encyclopedia Magica Volume 1. Why were readers confused by the frequent use of the words "I-wizard" and "dawizard"?
What was the second one? Dawizard?
Dawizard.
D-A.
D-A. Hannah is writing these down.
I am.
Brian just looks quite confused. But I think of the people here, why do I feel like Brian has the most D&D experience? Am I just extrapolating from Dropout here, or am I just stereotyping you?
I mean, you're doing both, but it is true. I think I probably do know the most. But that being said, this came out the year I was born, so I am still struggling a little bit. Sorry about that. But the thing there, when you're saying "I-wizard," like the physical eye, like you have, or is it as if Steve Jobs invented this?
It's as if Steve Jobs invented this.
Okay, all right, gotcha. I-wizard.
Which also is probably a good riff in itself.
Yeah. Okay, well then
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, sounds like an Apple product.
Yeah. Because here's the thing about, I would say, most like fantasy weird things in that era is that if they made like dawizard because they thought like, I don't know, it sounded like an MC name from early hip hop. I wouldn't put it past them for them to try to make that like cool hip reference, but I feel like that's not right.
It's not, but I love the idea that at some point there was a Dungeons & Dragons source book that was inspired by early hip hop. I just feel like that also feels like the kind of thing you'd ask ChatGPT for these days.
Why were people confused?
Was there like similar language in the game that sounded like I-wizard and dawizard?
How much Dungeons & Dragons knowledge do you need to have to be able to answer this question, Tom?
Absolutely none.
Okay.
Well, maybe a tiny
good.
amount. You would need to know what Dungeons & Dragons is and talks about.
Okay, so there's dice in Dungeons & Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, no, we've reached the limit of my knowledge.
There you go.
All I know is that it takes a long time to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even longer to try to organize groups. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I hear the people who are into D&D are like, they're like, that's their thing. It's like kind of like, I don't know. It's like it seems like a fandom almost.
Definitely. Which makes me think that, like, again, first off, Dungeons and Dragons enjoyers tend to be very, very intense about their rules. And so I can't imagine it being a rules issue that's confusing them. I can't imagine it's that's the breaking point. But maybe.
Okay.
Is does I and duh stand for something? Is it like I is an introverted wizard and duh is the district attorney wizard or something like that? And they have to figure out how those could be combined. Like I maybe there's something there.
They're just single words, lowercase.
Okay.
I-wizard and dawizard.
Tell us the bit about Dungeons and Dragons that we need to know in order to be able to.
Honestly, I can't give much more without giving it away. I would think more about I feel this is the sort of thing where writing the words down might help a little.
Is it something to do with the way that you type it?
Yes.
So there was this quite sweet thing about typos, so Google Trends of different typos, and there was one that was really strange, and it was and people thought that it was everywhere in the world had one word that was the same typo, a Google Trend for it, but France was different, and then people realised it's because the E and the W in the French keyboard, or E and Z, have swapped over or something.
Yeah, they have AZERTY keyboards instead of QWERTY, I think.
So I wonder whether DA. I wonder whether it's a typo, but maybe typed in a different language.
It's not a typo. It's not a slip of the things. Like these words were all the way through the book.
Deliberate.
No, not really. Brian, I think you may be able to help here with some words that might come up when you're talking about D&D.
Oh gosh. No, I was originally going to be like, sometimes depending on like dice checks are called DCs and stuff like that. Like if there's another related word in Dungeon, but I feel like that's too much institutional knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons to be.
Yeah, you don't need that much.
Okay.
But you're saying it is to do with the keyboard?
Not the keyboard, but word processing.
Okay.
This was an error that came in during production.
Oh, is it related to like people trying to look up wizard and then having to go to a different part of the book to like no?
Not quite. Brian, talk me through some D&D combat here. Let's just say I'm rolling against something.
Yes.
Talk me through a battle.
Oh God! I mean, now I'm gonna have my D&D cred really questioned here. So you're gonna be basically when you're first fighting someone, you have to check. You roll dice to see if it hits, and then you roll dice for the damage related to it. But I'm trying. What would be
damage wizard?
Yeah.
DA.
Now you're very close. Very quickly.
Oh.
Damage wizard is almost the clue you need to unlock it.
Damn, wizards!
Yeah.
Damage wizard.
It was meant to be damage. What they got was dawizard.
Oh, autocorrect!
Nearly.
Like find and replace.
Find and replace. So what changed? How did they end up with dawizard and iWizard?
Oh my gosh.
MA.
Oh,
GE.
mage wizard,
Magic.
image wizard. It's image wizard and damage wizard, and those are okay.
It was originally image and damage, and someone did a find and replace to change mage to wizard.
Oh,
And then they just did not proofread it any further.
And hang on, is there a mage? Does mage
Wow.
mean something in Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I think that that might be the issue is that somebody wrote it as mage for the entire time, but in like if you're talking about classes, I think they only had wizard class at that point. I don't believe mage was a class at that point, so and I don't think it still is.
So mage is a Dungeons and Dragons word.
Mage is another word for wizard.
Oh,
It's just a synonym for wizard.
Oh,
I
So
did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Oh, that's okay. That's why you two had some problems with that.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
sorry.
I had no excuse.
Mage is a synonym for wizard.
Yes.
Okay, mage is a synonym for wizard. So the writer simply described mage all the way through, presumably because it sounded more magical or fantastical than wizard. And someone went, "Oh, we'll just find and replace that back." And so throughout the book, they were talking about not images, but wizards. And not points of damage, but points of the wizard.
I just think it's amazing that in my head I'm like, oh yeah, everyone knows mages, and then I'm like, oh no, I guess I am more nerdy than I think.
Yeah.
Everyone must know what a mage is.
Yeah, sorry.
Surely.
That one's on me as well. That's on me.
Oh no, Brian. You cut me open and I bleed nerd. It's just a different class of nerds.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Yeah.